Hello, BookTube. Well, I've mentioned many times before on this channel, especially in live streams, that I have a few friends who do BookTube professionally. Not BookTube, YouTube. And they have always told me, first, you should do this. And second, that if you're ever feeling like a pick me up, do a live stream. I've mentioned that I don't really understand that in their own cases, since they don't really see the comments on their live streams and don't appear to have any awareness of any kind of community. Sadly, it could be that they just appreciate the money. All of them are set up for super chats. All of them have uh, crews of moderators to funnel the super chats forward and highlight them on the screen and whatnot, so that a moderately successful live stream will get you a lot of money, more money than two-thirds of Americans see in a year, just for sitting and talking to a camera. It could be that that's why they like it and that that's what perks them up. But in the past of doing live streams, I have found that it is true. I don't have super chats. I don't make any money from my live streams, but I've still found that they perk me up. And aside from my time with Frida today, I kind of do want to pick me up. So I thought I would do a Steve stream just until 10 past the hour, just an hour of your time. Very sorry to be distracting you from the other must watch live stream at 7 o'clock tonight, which is the great Steve Stockton. Among the Missing, his his stream about people who go missing hiking in America and what is known about them, and maybe is there a chance to find them. I love his channel, but it always reminds me of things that I heard myself before my first try at the Appalachian Trail, which is that it's a long advertisement for criminals. It's an advertisement for criminals to know exactly where potential victims are. Uh, I never saw anything like that myself. I have done chunks or all of the Appalachian Trail many, many times. I've met a lot of annoying people, but never any criminal people. I don't know if maybe I met them, but they were unwilling to reveal themselves. As you know, I was a healthy young guy, and I had control of sometimes a large amount of dogs. Maybe that was it. Maybe I met them and didn't know it. Uh, but if you can tear your attention away from Steve Stockton, your company is very much appreciated tonight. Today's news has been really bothering me. I've been trying my best not to lose myself in it. I finally decided to talk about it in a video, and I know that I'm going to get complaints about that video. I know there are going to be people out there who are so 100% certain that I am not real, that I am a I don't know, pixelated creature on a screen, but not a real person. That they're going to grouse about the fact that I wasted some of their time talking about current affairs in what should have been a mail haul, and not think anything of it. When if they had to meet with friends about a project that they're all doing, and the friend had something on her mind ahead of time, that same person would never in a million years say after that part of the conversation was over, you really wasted my time with that. Let's get down to business. They wouldn't do that in a million years, but they'll do it if they don't think you're real. Uh, I made sort of a decision. I ordinarily don't make conscious decisions to make videos. They're very much involuntary passages of very involuntary acts on my part. Talking to my imaginary book two friends is just so ordinary now that I don't think about it. But I had to make a conscious decision today to make videos. And my thought this morning was, if you don't make that conscious decision, then you just won't, right? You just won't. For some reason, I have been caught between the pincer action of these two stories: a manhunt for a mass murderer in Maine, and Israel cutting off the internet to Gaza. Uh, in preparation for a massive assault, basically a ground clearing. Uh, I know that Israel's justification for that would be that Hamas uses the internet to and would use the internet to coordinate street by street, window by window guerrilla fighting against Israeli troops once they move in on the ground. But And that might be true. You're going to get that resistance anyway. It's not going to be any more or less coordinated. Hamas can still use radios, but it inevitably has the other effect of shutting down the eyes of the world to what's going on. News reporters by the dozens have been trapped in Gaza. They cannot communicate with the Washington Post or Forbes or the Wall Street Journal. They can't communicate with their colleagues, and they can't communicate with the outside world, nor can anyone else. I don't know what I don't know what's going to come of that, obviously, but those two things, the fact that uh, the fact that there's a mass murder on the loose in the northeastern seaboard, and no one seems to be interested in it anymore because the story is taking a little bit longer than the American attention span, and also what no matter where you stand on the politics, we are all watching a gigantic war crime being committed by Israel. We're all just sitting here watching it. We're watching it happen. There's only one power on earth that can make it stop, and that is the United States. And the United States has not done so. Uh, so, uh, so, rather than get lost between that pincer movement, or spend all of my time with Frida, she's a little exhausted because I've been taking advantage of my little being today. Every time I felt that things were just too much, I have availed myself of the surefire remedy of going into the woods and spending time with her. Where once we're on when we're on the path and there's a chance that we'll meet other people, sure, then the chatter is going on in my head. But once we're alone in the upper meadows and there's no one anywhere around who's human, then all of that drops away. And I'm talking, yes, but I'm not. I'm communicating with her, but not in English. So all of that world goes away, and I have to pick it back up when we descend and come back out of the woods. Uh, I've been taking real advantage of that today, which is why my little bean is almost 7. So she's not, she can't take a lot of this abuse just in her stride. She loved it. She absolutely loved it. But I thought I would do a live stream and talk about writing instead, because in addition to all the rest of this stuff, we are in the hour of the dragon when it comes to NaNoWriMo. NaNoWriMo is just a few days away. So I want to know where you all are. Any of you who are joining me, I think a lot of you are not joining me. I think that's bad. You should. You absolutely should. And there is still time. There is still time for you to think up a plot, the rudiments of characters, and get to work on world building before you get to work on writing on the 1st of November. Uh, we're in that hour, so I'm wondering what those of you who are doing NaNoWriMo are thinking, where you are right now. I have felt a little bit guilty about NaNoWriMo for a week now, more than that, because I know exactly what I want to do and I know exactly how I want to do it. I know my mind is not going to change. I'm just waiting to write. That's all. I'm just waiting to write, which I find has completely erased my motivation for making videos on the subject because the videos encouraging you to work on this, that, or the other thing and get to work preparing to write your daily word count were in part designed to encourage myself, and I don't need that encouragement now. I know exactly what I'm going to do, and I can't wait to do it. Uh, so I thought I would use this Steve stream just to see how you're all doing, see if you can perk me up. I know you can. I know you will, and also to ask about writing, legitimately to ask about writing. So let's take a look at the chat and see where we go. DT says, "Hey Steve, where is Halloween on your favorite moments of the year?" I don't really think about it all that much. It's certainly not. There are only two nationally recognized holidays that are on my list that are anywhere. They're both extremely important to me, and Halloween isn't one of them. Ryan hadn't seen a video in a couple of days, was starting to worry. Well, one day, one day, I took yesterday off because yesterday I was just nose down in the news, and I almost took today off. I almost did the same thing, but then I thought, you know, if you do that, it might gain momentum, and I don't want it to. So I made videos today and just talked about it. Ryan, I did the writing part. Editing is harder and less fun. Any advice? Uh, okay, I don't know what you mean by I did the writing part. Uh, if you're talking about editing something that you just wrote, then don't do it. Don't edit. Put it away for months, 6 months, and then come back to it. You'll when if you let enough time pass, then it'll feel like somebody else's work. Still, it isn't the same job at all. Of course, it's going to be less fun than writing, but you can't do it with your own work when your own work is still emitting body heat. So, I don't know what did the writing part means. I've been writing for my entire life. I've never done the writing part. So, but if you're talking about something recent that you've written, don't edit it. Put it away and write something else. Ryan, Steve did oh no, that was you again. Jenny Parks, hello, my rodent doing Huguenots. How's everyone's week? I see the all-knowing one is leaving us in suspense again. No, I think there must be something wrong with my clock. But uh, Jenny Parks again. If only we could spam you with super chats just to turn you into a professional YouTuber. I don't know. I don't know. The super chats seem pretty alienating to me. I mean, honestly, who wants to pay for you to talk to? Kevin JN, I made it just in time. My arm has just suffered a COVID shot and a flu shot at the same time, hoping I don't get too sleepy. Yeesh. Shot and a flu shot at the same time. Yeesh. Street Medic, talking about missing people, I realized rereading Salem. Okay. You're reading about Salem? Salem witch trials, maybe? Uh, Gola Muad'Dib says, "Hi Steve, I finished one short story slash chapter a couple of days ago. Started writing another yesterday. Wrote some more today, about 120 words. 120 words is 120 better than nothing. That's good." James Rucala, "Hi Steve, have you seen the trailer for The Holdovers yet? The Brattle sale lot will be filled with young fans of Paul Giamatti after that movie comes out to glamorize it." Yes, I got sent the pertinent clip of the Brattle sale lot by so far over 100 people. So I guess I am synonymous with the Brattle now. But I don't think anybody will be going there because of a movie. Uh, Ryan says, "App State grad here. No idea what App State is. Love the trail. Oh, is that Appalachian State University? Love the trail. Is there an author you like solely for their writing? Maybe not a good storyteller or plot developer. Mine is Sylvia Plath, The Bell specifically." Do you mean the bell jar? I'm, 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 I'm losing track of some of the abbreviations going on here. Uh, with an author that I like solely for the writing. Yeah, there are plenty of authors I like solely for the writing. Trish Boval, I've been worrying about Deb. Is her compound secure? Well, yeah. Of course, that was the first email that I sent off. The first few panicked emails that I sent off uh, were out of worry because those of you who don't know what Trish is talking about, my old friend Deb lives in Maine, and they were all fine, which would be the end of the story if this gunman were caught or dead. But he's still at large. And who knows? Who knows where he is now? Deb is less than an hour from where the original shootings happened. Who knows where he is now? The last story that I read, aside from spammers on Elon Musk's Twitter, the most hateful people in the world, aside from them, the last story that I read was that the trail has largely gone cold. And I was messaging about this back and forth with another booktuber, uh, and I said, is this just going to boil down to a random stranger seeing this guy at a gas station or something and giving a credible report? Why can't law enforcement track him? It looks bleak. So who knows if her compound is secure? Who knows if my compound is secure? DT says, "How much do you like or dislike Irwin Shaw? Anything by him you enjoyed?" I like him, but I don't like him nearly as much as I was told at the time that I should. He's largely forgotten now. In fact, completely forgotten. But at the time, when he was coming out with that collection of short stories, when he had all of his novels, literary people that I knew then, I was in reviewing at the time then, literary people were saying, he's one for the ages. This is not a writer who will disappear. I wasn't completely sure. His stuff seemed a little pedestrian to me. And, the generation before that, I heard the same thing about Edna Ferber. She's gone. He's gone. So I'm not sure that that judgment is ever correct. And so it won't be correct today. Uh, I've never read anything by him that I particularly enjoyed. No. Street Medic says, "Damn, didn't mean to post that last comment yet, so I'll start over rereading Salem's Lot." Okay. "I realize this is the 100th anniversary of the events that led to the abandonment of Momsen, Vermont in the book." Uh, My surly houseboy just finished Salem's Lot, and it was a big thumbs down. He had nothing positive to say about it. Jared Henderson is here. Let's make this quick, Steve. I'm chatting with Nuts in an hour or so. Oh well, okay, then we won't do 10 past the hour. Is your chat with Jimmy at 8 Eastern Standard Time? We won't go 10 past the hour. Then we'll go straight to that because I don't want to compete with chatting with Nuts. I want you all to go and watch definitely. Uh, it'll be so much more palatable conversation for his fans than I was. So much more. Because you'll have your leather elbow patches on and your tweed and your ostentatious slurping from a gigantic mug and a beard and all the right books and all the right opinions. It'll be just, you'll be much more to their liking, I'm sure. Uh, Ryan says, enjoyed your video with Richardson about Patrick O'Brien. I just got into Aubrey and Maturin series. It does take a while to get into the lingo, but once adjusted, what great stories. I agree. Didn't take me more than half of the first book to acclimate. Uh, Mark and I love that series. Absolutely love it. We were going to do just a read through of book by book, but again, he's incredibly busy, so he wasn't able to do it. Uh, let's see here. Gola Muad'Dib was next. Uh, Funny you should say that. I just started a reread of The Hour of the Dragon. Oh well, I meant just in ordinary parlance. That's all. I wasn't referring to Stephen King. I was referring to the fact that if you're doing NaNoWriMo, you are now in the crosshairs of NaNoWriMo. In no time at all, you're going to start writing. Jared Henderson says, I am sad that my new project has made me abandon NaNoWriMo, but I'll be writing every day in November. The goal is 2,000 words per day as a minimum. That's a good goal. That'll get a book written. Ryan, I left the US because of gun violence and politics. It's so sad and is a problem that could be fixed but is not addressed. Best to you and fellow Americans. Yeah, it's a problem that could be addressed. It could be addressed fairly easily, commonsensically, except that the people who manufacture the guns have bought the lawmakers who could regulate the guns. Simple as that. It's just as simple as that. They just bought them. So, and the rubric is to say, well, elect them out, vote them out of office, and vote in people who aren't owned by the gun lobby. But then the gun lobby would just buy more. Uh, they'd just buy more politicians. There'll always be politicians for sale. Uh, won't there, baby? I'm not going to take you on another long walk. It's nighttime. You want to come down here? Hmm? Oh, there we go. Oh, there's my baby. She's been giving me home decorating tips as well today because I am rearranging some things here in at Hyde Cottage, and I'm not 100% sure how I want to do it. I think I know what the end product is, but it's rotten when you don't know every step of the way because then you could do something for it happened twice today. You do something for an hour and you realize no, that doesn't work, and in order to redo it, you have to undo it. You have to just put everything back. But she's been watching the whole time. She doesn't sleep all day. She just watches all day. She likes to be around me, watching what I do. Uh, DT says, just watched. We just wanted to let you know, Steve, I'm on my fifth novel since last year's NaNoWriMo, which I started after watching your videos. I've had so much fun in the process. Well, DT, you could take a billboard out. That would be very wonderful because that's the point that nobody ever believes. When I tell them this is that, yes, you should write because it's your moral obligation, sure. You shouldn't just consume, you should also create, sure. But when I tell them the process is also fun, it's fun in a way and to an extent that nothing else you do is, they don't believe me. They just don't believe me. They look at all the work that it is and they think this can't be fun. So it's great to hear. And DT follows up with, by then I had even looked up all your earlier AuthorTube videos, cleared away a lot of dross, which I used to take seriously. Yes, I hate to say this, I won't harp on it too much, but 99% of the writing videos that I have seen that have been made in the last 5 years, I've done a lot of so-called AuthorTube viewing in the last 2 months. 99% of what I've seen is dross. It's just worthless. I don't mean to say that, because I'm all that. I don't want to toot my own horn, but these people either don't know what they're talking about or don't believe what they're saying and are merely funneling towards buying something. So maybe the question that I have had, where is AuthorTube? Maybe the answer is I should make it on my own. Maybe that's true. Maybe I should do writing videos all through November for NaNoWriMo. Even though, if you're starting NaNoWriMo after day 3 or 4, you're not going to finish. You're not going to get to 50,000 words in the month. So writing videos during the month has always struck me as a little counterproductive. But writing videos just in general, uh, the type I'm thinking of just doesn't seem to exist on BookTube, which is kind of, or on YouTube, which is kind of rare. You'd think everything exists on YouTube. Maybe I just haven't found them. But a lot of you have looked as well and come back with the same depressing report. Uh, I don't know. You guess it. How do you feel about Octavia Butler's work? I like it. Cheryl Holsenbeck says, "Do you follow the Asher House Dog Sanctuary and other animals on YouTube? He reminds me of you. Recently posted a Why I Kiss My Dogs. I'm basically a dog video. I find his content very soothing. I do. I do watch. Yes, I like them." Richard Reed says hello. Jenny Parks, in regards to writing, I'm still a coward. My Celtic ancestors would be very disappointed in my lack of a spine. The Celtic ancestors knew a lot about storytelling, and you still have time. You still have time. This is the 27th. By the end of tonight, by the time you put your pretty little head down on your bed to drool on your pillow for the 9 hours you people need, you could have a plot. You could certainly do that. Well, if you have a plot tonight, then tomorrow you could develop characters and a storyline. That's basically all you need to start NaNoWriMo on the 1st of November, and that still leaves you time to work out the details. Uh, let's see here. Sid was next. Hi, Steve. Do you think Mahan's influence on sea power is worth reading as an amateur enthusiast of the time period just before World War One? By the way, One Boys Boston was really good. Thanks for the rec. I do think it's worth reading. Yeah, it's fairly good reading too, especially if you know a little bit about the subject already. Uh, let's see here. Jared says Jimmy and I are starting at 8:30 Eastern time. Okay, well then we have our marching orders because we want to finish by then, and then you can all clear out and go over there to watch a very civilized bro tube conversation. It'll be very civilized. I think probably around the 4 hour mark. They'll both cough awkwardly and remember to mention a woman. J. Scott Phillips, I keep hearing you say you're clearing out so many physical books in favor of ebooks, but it sounds like you're just replacing them with all the endless number of different e-readers. No, no, that's not true. Oh, I do have a lot of e-readers. I am, when it comes to technology, I'm always looking for the platonic ideal, always. I think probably because I got bit by the bug before these things existed by Star Trek. So I always think about the perfect device. I imagine the perfect device, and the perfect device doesn't exist. So I end up accumulating stuff. I end up accumulating attempts at it and seeing which one comes closest. And also just on the more human level, the ones that I enjoy using the most. I've been using this thing quite a bit. This is the big uh, Kindle Scribe, or yeah, this is the Kindle Scribe, the Amazon Kindle Scribe. I wasn't using this at first. I was shying away from it a lot, and then I realized why. Because every time I touched it, I knocked the pen off. The pen magnetically attaches to one side, and every time I touched this thing, it went flying. I had to then go and look for it, and I had to be really careful. Oh my God, be careful here! Hold it up here. Make sure that you're not dislodging it. And then I realized, okay, one step at a time. Okay, take the pen off and store it in your little cubby hole, so that you know where it is, so you know where to find it, and just use this as an e-reader for a million years before you move on to the writing part, one step at a time. So I did that, and I'm getting used to this. I'll tell you though. Let's see here. When it comes to this thing, there's one thing that I really need to do a deep dive uh, on this, because I cannot figure out how to remove this thing right here. I can expand it to a drop down menu, or I can contract it, but I cannot figure out how to remove that thing right there. And since I can't figure out how to do that, it's the only thing my eye sees when I use this device. The only thing I see is this blob on the page, which is absolutely maddening. But I haven't trying this. I realized that the only fair way to do it would be to try this thing at length for reading. It's a bigger screen than this, but this is a whole lot more convenient for me to read. So it is still a constant search for the right device. Uh, Gola Muad'Dib says, my copy of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Battle of Malden arrived in the mail yesterday. Oh, wow. Is it illustrated? I don't remember if that one is illustrated. I think it is, right? Street Medic says, came up with a name for the main character in my locked room mystery. How does Horatio Jones sound for a disgraced alcoholic detective? I'm not a big fan of the fad that was created by TV shows like uh, CSI or what was the one with Mark Harmon in it? Uh, I'm not a big fan. All of those shows outdid themselves by giving their male lead characters incredibly antiquated male names. Uh, or Horatio or Bartholomew or Ezra or something like that. I'm not a fan of that, but you're not doing that for that reason. So Horatio Jones works fine by me. Uh, Oliver Anderson says another Steve stream. You're really spoiling the vermin. Just finished Tales of Earthsea. Do you have a favorite Le Guin short story? Not a short story. No, not one that I like well enough to call a favorite. Connor says, I had a discussion about subjectivity, objectivity in literature in class today, and everyone, including the professor, said there is no objectivity in art. Would this have been the same 50 years ago? No, it wouldn't have been the same 50 years ago. No, no, it would not have been. There would have been two people in the class who would have said that, and they would have been outcast. No, it's now we all have our own truths. We all have our own facts. We all live in our own world, and the worlds only intersect a little with the worlds of other people. Gola Muadid says, I'm having a blast writing as well. Good for you. Good for you. It is a blast. Hannah's Books is here. So glad to see you here this evening. Yes, indeed. I will be staying until it's time to hand over the festivities to Chatting with Nuts, talking with Jared Henderson and his beard and his mug and his tweed and his leather elbow patches, where everything will flow with the complete smoothness of two guys working out the universe. I think if we, I don't know, can we agree? I think if we agree, fondling microphone, that we really should have the sun come up tomorrow morning. What do you think about that? What's the praxis of that? The sun's going to come up anyway, Buttercup. But men love to talk that way, so I'm going to feast on it. Uh, let's see here. Monet Doyle says hello. Jenny Park says I quite enjoy planning characters and stories, but can't seem to get past the fear of actually writing them down. You can. You can get past the fear. All of the writers you love, all the writers that you are so grateful actually wrote, felt that fear. All of them did. And they got past it. And aren't you glad they did? They all felt that and they all got past it. Start simple. Don't think about war and peace. Start simple. You say that you're good at planning characters and stories. Okay, come up with story and come up with a few characters to put in that story. And then all I want you to do is move the two characters from, if it's present day, move the two characters from their car to a diner across a parking lot. Have them go to the diner, sit down, and start talking about whatever the plot is going to be. Now, that is very simple, right? That's a very simple scene. Who's driving? How are they driving? How are you going to describe it? How are you going to work in the descriptions of what these two look like without simply dumping it on the page? How do they interact with each other? What's their long history? How much are you not going to tell the reader? Should be a lot, right? Let the reader figure it out and let the reader fend for themselves. So you're getting them to park the car. Then you're going to walk them across the lot. How does that happen? What's the weather like? Are they thinking about it? Are they noticing anything? Is one more observant than the other? Then they go into the restaurant. Well, you've done that a million times. Describe it. And then take out the description. Leave in the parts that are good. Then you sit them down, then you get them talking. That's a very simple scene. You could do that without thinking about a Puccini opera, without thinking about War and Peace, without thinking about living forever on the slopes of Mount Helicon. Just that scene. Just write that scene. You can easily do that. Not before the 1st of November, but you could easily do that. Ryan says, I completed a novel I started last NaNoWriMo. Finished in July, so I've sat on it a few months, like you say. Writing's a muscle I've worked on, but editing and refining is challenging. Well, yeah, it's a completely different set of muscles. Uh, Worth it in the end, especially if you're going to rework the book. Gola Muad'Dib, my story is my own head canon inspired by Herbert, Tolkien, Howard, and Lovecraft. Head canon. Just made it into the dictionaries. That is now a term. Uh, uh, let's see here. Oh, the chat jumped again. Here we go. James Rucala says, if you were writing a murder mystery set in JS Box Leipzig, Would the first victim be an oboist or a harpsichord repairman? Ryan says, I wonder how many drafts most authors write before publication. I know the number varies enormously. Yeah, I know stories from reading about hundreds and hundreds of authors. Tolstoy 111 says, Hi, Steve. Do you like Isaac Babel? His work? Yeah. Jenny Park says, NCIS. I enjoy the first few seasons. Yes. And what was his name in NCIS? What was his name? Uh, I Horatio or so, it was something like that. And it was in every show. For a while, it was a fad. It was in every show. Horatio or Jebediah or stuff like that. I don't know if it's still true. I don't watch enough network TV to know, but I doubt it. Uh, Freeman says settings greater than hide writing toolbar. I tried that and it didn't. Maybe I didn't do it right. I went to settings. I saw hide writing toolbar and I did, and it just shrunk it to the blob. But the blob stayed. The little finger stayed. Maybe I need to try it again. Street Medic. It's set in the 1800s, so it's sort of antiquated. Oh, your story with Horatio or Horatio Jones. Monet Doyle says, I'm reading a paperback book by Elsie Silver. Well, you always mention authors I don't know. Uh, J. Scott Phillips says, I don't know how to get rid of that blob on your Kindle Scribe screen. But speaking of blobs, we'll do Blob Watch. We'll do Blob Watch. I know the thing that I'm thinking about is not going to show on a blob. My blob only shows precipitation, but the real story for the weather in America is the change in temperature. There's a massive cold front. It's 10 times bigger than it was originally projected to be. It was originally projected to just bother Montana. Now it's 10 times bigger. It's going to sweep across the whole of the country. It was 80 degrees today. It's going to be 85 degrees in Boston tomorrow. And on tomorrow is Saturday. Excuse me. And on Sunday, it's going to be half. The daytime high is going to be half what it is on Saturday. So 85 to 40 in overnight. So in this, I don't think it's going to show this. All this will show that will reflect that will be snowstorms. Yeah, okay. You can kind of make it out. Here you've got isolated snowstorms up there, and this is the front. All of this right here is being pushed ahead of a massive system here that is sweeping like that. So these right here, this line of storms right here is ahead of this massive change. And that massive change is going to come here this weekend and stay for a while. So that's going to be weird. Right now, walking the bean in my shirt sleeves, both of us tired by the time we get to the end of a walk and hot. That's not going to be true by the next week. DT says, regarding reading recommendations for a 6-year-old boy, how do you like Dave Pilkey's Dog Man and Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson series? I don't know. I would need to know what the 6-year-old boy likes to read or even likes to know what I likes to talk about. I need to know about the recipient. I can't just make a blanket recommendation. Ryan says, Steve, did you enjoy The Last Days of Jack Sparks by Jason Arnott? Very modern. He uses social media keenly as a plot device. It was a fun Halloween read. Last Days of Jack Sparks. I don't think I know that book. It's not ringing a bell. Jeffrey Mason says, to hide the writing toolbar across all books and documents, tap on the top of the screen to display the top navigation bar. Tap on the 3-dot icon and select Hide Writing Toolbar. I tried that, and it didn't get rid of the blob. It got rid of the drop-down menu, but not the sigil itself. But I can try again. I'll try again and see. I'll have access to this chat, so I'll be able to do that. Actually, why don't I try it now and see? That would be great. I am liking this machine, but okay. So hide writing toolbar across all books and documents. Tap on the top of the screen to display the top navigation bar. Tap on the 3 dots. Hide writing toolbar. Okay, that seemed to work. She's gone. Great. Fantastic. I'm going to give this thing a concerted try. I'm not 100% sure that I like the larger size. The Kindle Oasis is extremely convenient in a way that a larger thing is not. But I'm going to give it a try. I'll try it. I'll use it for a lot of time for reading, and then once I'm really comfortable with it as a reader, I will go on to see if I'm ever going to use it as a writing device. Don't see myself doing that, but I'll give it a try. DT says, has James Patterson written anything good? Would you consider any of his work good trash? Oh, he's all good trash. It depends on what you mean by good. In terms of literary quality, no, there isn't any, but it's really enjoyable. Most of his stuff is really enjoyable. It's written at speed and often with other hands in the stew, so there are gaps, all kinds of gaps, and you just have to make your peace with that, because it's going to be delivering on a kind of very quick reading plot delivery device. You have to make your peace with that and not overdo it. That's, I would say, not overdo it. The people who only read James Patterson, I can't agree with them. There's way too much stuff out there that you're only going for comfort. You are not just sneaking into the kitchen ahead of the birthday party to have a dollop of icing on your finger before the events. You're living on icing. No one would begrudge the first part, but even your best friends, your most allowing, forgiving best friends would say, you can't live on icing. Uh, but anyway, Richardson reads, James Patterson donates millions to libraries. Yes, he does. James Patterson is, what's the phrase? A stand-up guy. He's a stand-up guy. He gives away a lot of money, helps a lot of people. People always mock him for the fact that his all of his books have co-authors on the cover. Next time you notice a James Patterson book and you're ready to mock him for merely writing an outline or polishing up someone else's outline, take a look at how big the type font is of that other author. It's huge. It's not a little footnote at the bottom of the cover. It's gigantic. He's helping lots of people to start their writing career, and without any reason. I mean, yes, it's making him money, but it's helping them a lot. Uh, Ryan, where did you go? Oh, there we go. Patterson is painfully horrible. It's not good writing. I don't know of anybody who would say that it is. Even his foremost fans would not. Street Medic says, I'm going to wear some pretentious elbow patches without the coat. I'm just going to glue them straight onto the skin. Choco, do you like the lights on Knockbridge Lane? I did like it. Yes. I didn't like the marvelous little pixie child. I hate marvelous little pixie child. I hate them no matter who writes them, no matter when. I didn't like them when Euripides wrote them. I don't like perky little pixie children who are, uh, I don't want to rant, but authors who are spending too much time on social media will often put their social agenda philosophies, if you want to call it that, into the mouths of these children in order to imply that even a child can see some of these things. There was one of those characters in this book, and she grated on me forever and ever. I wanted her to die really bad in the course of the book, but otherwise I liked it. Uh, Choco says, is there a difference between writing a male versus female voice? I've never thought so. No, no, I've never thought so. I mean, I've heard and read a whole bunch of codswallop from authors about that, but I've never got it. Every time I've ever seen an author who was a strong proponent of that and trying to do it, that author wrote sexist characters. Uh, and look at your own life. Look at the people that you know. You have uh, men who talk sense. You have men who talk nonsense. You have women who talk sense. You have women who talk nonsense. I don't know. I don't know about unless you mean just a worldview. But even there, I don't know. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find a bearded, leather elbow patch, big easy chair, ostentatious slurping from a gigantic mug, male author who is as ponderous and navel gazing as Iris Murdoch in a lot of her books. You'd be hard pressed to do that. So I don't even know there where you'd find it. Uh, Tolstoy 111 says the art, all art is equal mania is rooted in the perception of art, not as an act of creative empathy, but as an expression of identity inseparable from you as a person. Okay, don't know where that comes from. Jenny Parks, Jethro Gibbs. I like his friendship with Abby. So do I, but Jethro's dumb. That is you saying I don't want to call this guy Clint, and especially since it was intentionally meant to imitate uh, uh, non-heroic, dorky names for heroic guys. So that's my idea of daring storytelling. So on CSI Miami, I'm going to call a character Horatio. On CSI itself, I'm going to name the main character Gus. I'm going to give the main male lead, I'm going to give him a dorky name as a kind of a cool, edgy thing to do. And then they just started competing with each other. And Jethro isn't the worst of it. what was well, there's one I'm thinking of that's even worse that came after the success of I've forgotten the name already. That show. Uh, what was the name of the mentor figure male lead in Criminal Minds in the first season before Mandy Patinkin came in? What was the character name for that guy? Joe Montana? Was it Joe Montana who played him? Uh, I can't remember the character name, but I think that was another example. It was even worse than Jethro. Uh, Gola Muad'Dib, a few weeks ago, I tried writing an exercise you mentioned. It's an argument between two characters. Starts with "You're wrong." They argued over life in hell and The Simpsons, Dune, and Star Wars and Trek. Well, you start that way, and then take stuff out, and then take stuff out. I'm more sensitive to this than I was, for instance, a few months ago, because I've been doing a lot of reading spy novels in preparation for Doctor November, and I'm really noticing. Uh, I don't want to say how insulting. I don't want to make it so adversarial, but I'm really noticing that some authors just do not trust you to have a brain in your head. They just don't trust you. And some do. And the ones who do are effortlessly more refreshing than the ones who don't. So I would say, have them talk to your heart's content, but then go over the conversation and take out the stuff you don't need to be in there. Paul Marin, but not the real Paul Marin. Belated congratulations on topping 15K. Thank you. Yes, it is I, Paul Marin, all oiled up and nowhere to pose. Well, not. I'm sure that it is, darling. Not that it takes much to get the real Paul Marin to talk about topping anything. But let's keep this family friendly, shall we? Andrew Russell. Hi, Steve. I need to ask you this before I forget. What happens when you have to review a book that's completely out with your sphere of knowledge? You just have to give it a pass. Uh, well, I hate to answer it this way, but it depends. If it depends on the venue. If the book is intended for a general audience, then I should not need to know anything about the subject matter. And if it's intended for a general audience, so in other words, it's brought out by a general press with 20,000, 50,000 print run and put in bookstores on their front list on their new tables. If that's the case, then if I start reading it and it's way above my head, then it's the author's fault or the marketing department's fault. But if not, then not. I have occasionally passed on books where it's offered to me, from whoever, Publishers Weekly or whatever, and I don't know enough about the subject to assess the work of the book. But it's rare. Maybe it's more common the closer you get to specialized publications, but I don't deal with that at all. I deal with newspaper book reviewing. Uh, let's see here. Where were we? The chat jumped again. There we go. Siva Bronstein, do you have or have you ever experienced any symptoms of OCD in any aspect of your life? No, no, I have not. I'm always tempted in this case to say that I do not have any mental problems, except that I would be laying myself open to all of you laughing and pointing out all sorts of things. But I don't have any mental afflictions. No, no anxieties, no self doubt, no mental health days, no OCD, no nothing like that. Cheryl Holsenbake says, my grandson loved the Dogman series, probably first to third grade range. Maybe so. I would still want to talk to the boy. Uh, Paul Marin, I missed your Q&A, so a question for you. Are you a follower of Thomas Carpenter's Ovid stories? Thomas Carpenter, why does that ring a bell? That sounds familiar. I'm going to have to say no because it's not really leaping out at me, but it sounds awful familiar. Street Medic, Steve and I have to line up my meds according to size, color, and shape. I think that's pretty OCD. Ryan says Patterson has helped Bill Clinton and Dolly Parton so much. What a kind soul. Well, I wasn't. I'm sure that that's meant ironically. I wasn't thinking about the multimillionaires that he has helped. I was thinking of the ordinary people that he's helped. Uh, Jenny Park says Critical Drinker wrote for James Patterson. No idea if it's any good though. Did he really? Hmm. Evil Joshua, Steve, are there any good novelizations of Paradise Lost? In the same vein as Gardner's Grendel. If there are, I don't know about it at all. I don't see why you would. Well, then again, I mean, I didn't see why Gardner should write that, but I love the book. Uh, it tells a different viewpoint. I don't know what different viewpoint you could do for Paradise Lost. I No, I don't know of any. If there are, I'm sure they're unbearable. DT, speaking of popular writers, what do you think of Nora Roberts versus her JD Robb persona? Would you consider any of her work good trash? Uh, well, yeah, they're good trash. They're all enjoyable. I don't know of any different writing persona. They all seems exactly the same to me. But again, it's like James Patterson. It's all bad. It's just, you can a little bit of that kind of bad is fun from time to time. The only caution I would give is the same one I gave with Patterson, which is that you can't live on cake frosting. It's a bad habit to do. It's the habit that ensnared a whole reading generation who now only read books for children, even though they're now in their late 40s. Uh, Steve Bronstein is responding to Street Maverick. Let's see here. Ryan says, "Will rephrase, Steve, an author you like just for writing. I proposed the bell jar, but Plath was a poet, and it seemed usually poets turn novelists have pretty words." Yeah, I don't know. I still don't know. And it must be me. I still don't know what that means. Just for writing. Uh, I'm trying to imagine what that would be like. So what? I don't like the plots. I don't like the content. I just like the writing. I can't think of an example like that. Uh, Jenny Parks. I enjoy being a female that talks nonsense. Minimum wage is not enough to be mature when working. Oh no, 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 no. If you're working retail, then you got to have fun. Absolutely. Tolstoy 111. My earlier comment was related to the professor saying there is no good or bad lit. I'm not sure what you mean. I can't see but a tiny fraction of the chat. So gigantic, multi-part, multivalent, moving part doctoral dissertation comments are probably not going to work. You're probably going to have to save those for an email or on face-to-face conversation over wine and calzones. I don't know exactly what that's referring to. Connor, have you ever watched the ultimate fall TV show Gilmore Girls? No. Ryan, The Last Days of Jack Sparks, Orbit 2017. It's fun, clever read. I just say because I've never mentioned a book you haven't read before. Uh, yeah, I'll have to give it a look see. Ryan says I am so excited for Doctor November. So am I. More excited than I thought it would be. I think we're gonna have another hit booktube event on our hands, which is always fun. The more of them invented, the better. The better I like them. I want historical fiction, I want fantasy, and I want science fiction. I want someone to invent those events. If they invite me, I will gladly participate. If they don't invite me, which is far more likely, I'll still cheer them on from the sidelines. But I think Doctor November is going to be an example of that. Paul Marin says, "Let's all come up with the worst lead character names." Ebenezer. Well, I'm still trying to think of Joe Montana's character from Criminal Minds. I feel certain that it was something like Quintilius or something like that. It was. I feel certain that he was the example I'm thinking of as the other guy that went, Gus and Horatio to Jethro to him, whatever he was. But I can't look up on IMDb or I'll lose the chat. Uh, let's see here. DT says, "What about naming schemes for ethnic characters?" No idea what that means. Uh, name's a name's a name. I just name your characters what you want. I think. Uh, the minute you concede that there might be different naming conventions for ethnic characters, you have to get somebody else to approve of your writing. I say just pick what you want. Pick the names you want. Ryan says, "Master and Commander is way above your head for a good while, and this is from a guy who grew up around boats." Well, yeah, the terminology is, but not the rest of it. And it's absolutely saved even in the terminology by O'Brien's choice of having Stephen Matron join the crew. He doesn't know anything. So things have to be explained to him. I think by the halfway point of the book, you'll be fine. Uh, Ryan says, "You are a stable genius, Steve. No mental issues." Well, I don't appreciate the echo of the guy who was going to destroy American democracy. And I'm not saying stable and I'm not saying genius. I'm just saying, thanks to BookTube, I have been in real close contact with lots of people who have lots of mental afflictions of one kind or another, especially depression. And I don't have anything like that. I've been in enough email contact with a lot of people to know that I don't have anything like that. I just don't. Don't. No OCD, no depression, no mental health phase, no nothing like that. So I'm not blowing my own horn. I was just responding. That's all. Colo 1546, Steve. I like the idea of NaNoWriMo challenge, but idea slash plot wise, I have nothing. I don't mean I can't think of two people at a diner. I mean I don't have the arcs, conflict, twists, climax. Sure you do. Sure you do. If you don't think you do, steal something. That's all. Just steal something. What kind of a story do you want to tell? What kind of a story do you want to tell? From the comment, it sounds like you already are okay with characters. Okay. Think up characters, two or three, not just one, two or three. Make them different from each other so that the sparks between them, the conflict between them is interesting right from the way, right from the beginning. And then you just have to come up with a plot. What is the plot? What happens to them? That's all. That's all you have to do. Come up with something very simple. That's easy to do. And once you come up with the crux of that, the rest of it will fall into place the longer you work on it. It's not hard. The only reason that people say that they can't think of such things is because they're thinking of the whole finished product from the start. They're thinking of War and Peace from the start. That's of course going to be intimidating, but you shouldn't think that way. You shouldn't think only of the beginning. That's all. The thrill of doing it will provide the forward momentum for you to get past the beginning. Um, oh God, I missed your. Well, I was yelling at you. I missed your comment. There we go. Connor says, "What's the matter, baby?" Very attentive here. Connor says, "Speaking of mental issues, I wasn't. I was only responding. That's all. Uh, literally everyone I've met at college has seemingly debilitating ADHD, according to them. Yeah, they don't. They don't. I haven't met them, but they don't. It- one tenth of 1% of the people who claim it have it. The rest of them don't. They the diagnosis happy, over medicated young people in the 21st century think if I don't feel like concentrating on something for more than a minute or 30 seconds, thanks to TikTok, then I must have ADHD. They don't. They don't, of course. They're just lazy. Uh, and again, this along with everything, every other diagnosis in the world, from body dysmorphia to actual clinical depression, because you've got all these people coming out of the woodworks and their parents are lawyers and say, if you even suggest that my kid is lying or wrong, I'll sue you. Because of that, the people who actually need the help are considered malingers. Uh, a street medic says, my fortune cookie says working with children has a miraculous effect on your spirit. No, whoever wrote that never had kids, whiny little brats. The ZRK2, I could survive on fruisting. Just watch me. No idea what on fruisting is. Sean Cole says, what fantasy sci-fi authors should be more popular over the ones who are, in your opinion? Well, fantasy and science fiction have forgotten a lot of great authors that I would wish were more popular, but maybe it's because tastes have changed. Um, so I don't really know. Uh, don't really never know how to answer questions like that. Jenny Park says he played David Rossi. No idea who you're referring to. Uh, it must be eons ago in the chat. Were we talking about an actor? Oh, Joe Montana in Criminal Minds. Okay, David Rossi is not the name I was thinking of then. So what are the first names of the other men in that cast? One of them was weird. A prominent part, I don't know. Maybe it's not that show that I'm thinking of. I know there was one that was worse than Jethro. I know there was. Uh, J. Scott Phillips, if you don't like fictional first names like Horatio or Jethro, what about a middle name like Tiberius? Well, keep in mind, until the movie, we didn't know Tiberius. It wasn't canon until then. Tolstoy 111, and this is part 27, section 8, part 2 of comment number 17. Well, that's what it feels like sometimes. In all seriousness, though, do you like Dangerous Liaisons, the novel, not the film? Not particularly, no. DT, can you articulate what Patterson slash Nora Roberts books are lacking in broad strokes? A friend I just visited now suddenly has a shelf full of this stuff, which told me their reading habits have changed. It's incredibly easy. It's incredibly easy. One note, one measure, one speed at all times. There's no texture, there's no grain. There's no dimension. The characters are essentially are collections of TV quips. The books are set up with TV breaks, so the action goes just long enough to be a commercial. It's You only have to read something real to see the difference in both cases, Patterson and Roberts. So, with a case like that, with a person whose shelves are full of that stuff now, well, give them somebody who's doing that better, and they'll see right away. The problem is, if you only eat frosting, you will lose your ability to try anything else. That's what I mentioned. There's a whole half a generation of people 15, 20 years ago who fell into the fad of reading kids books written for kids and never read anything else. So you'll see a lot of those people on booktube now that frankly admit they can't read anything more than that now. Those muscles will atrophy and fall away. It's not they'll be waiting for you to strengthen them, they'll atrophy and fall away. I would worry about a person who has shelves of only that, when especially since with a little bit of effort you could nudge them into better versions of Patterson and Nora Roberts. Wouldn't be hard at all if they still have the ability to do it. Erica Wallace says, I'm new to your booktube channel. Oh, thank you. Welcome. Dare I say that I came from the other side of booktube? Oh, did you really? Oh my God. Well, you'll find a safe haven here. This side of booktube is incredibly complicated. It's incredibly complex. It's full of real people. It's not lockstep. It's not fake enthusiasm. You will never, ever find fake enthusiasm here. Never. Uh, I would love to hear different recommendations for real literature, but at a newbie level, please. Well, it depends. That's way too vague. It would depend on what you want to read. But you'll the if I understand you correctly by the other side, who I don't think you'll go back. I really don't. We're not as photogenic on this side, but we are completely real, and we represent everything, everything. Not the five books that are where the money is out there to sponsor hyper enthusiastic videos from people who haven't read them, but rather a million things from new releases. My own channel has a lot of new releases on it too, everywhere in the backstock and everywhere in between. With all of these oddballs, we're all oddballs. We all know and like each other. I think you'll like it. I think you'll like it a lot more than the other side. What I would like is if all the big booktubers from the other side also came over. Would like that, but they've all got mortgage payments on the line now. Ryan says something that I missed. Where did you go? Maurice Bendrix from The End of the Affair is a normal name. How did Green become so heralded? His books are not good. Oh, bare knuckle for Graham Greene. Some of his books are somewhat good, aren't they? Book Songs and Other Magic, another booktube channel. Hi, Steve. Congrats on 15K. Well, thank you. What's your opinion of John Wyndham? I kind of like him. I kind of like him. Paul Marin says Thomas Carpenter writes Roman era historical fiction and short mysteries featuring Magistrate Ovid as a detective. I could swear I know that. Was he in one of those anthologies like the Mammoth Book of Roman Whodunits or something like that? I think I encountered him in an anthology. I don't remember well enough. Uh, Lou G. Jason Gideon was Mandy Patinkin's name. Now Jason's not all right. It's not. There's someone else. There's one other example, at least one. There was Horatio, there was Gus, there was Jethro, but there was one other. There's one other that was like comically Obadiah or something like that. I won't get it in the Stevestream, but it'll come to me eventually. Um, Jenny Park says Criminal Minds has Aaron, Spencer, Morgan, and Jason as the main men. No, that's not going to do it. The Street Medic, my first book of all the characters' names was symbolic. For example, there is a doctor named Lucille Lourdes, who basically means healing light, and she is always associated with light. I would never do anything like that. But if it works for you, fine, fine and dandy. J. Scott Phillips. Actually, I think James Tiberius Kirk was first introduced in the animated series. You would be incorrect. Jared Henderson. Make sure that I don't overlap with your chatting with nuts. Right? I have time yet. It's 8:30. We quit at 8:15. Give you plenty of time to get an ostentatious mug with a drink in it. I want the world to know that today I subscribe to Big Canoe News. Just love local Georgia news. Well, the local Georgia news is very depressing, but the book section is a light in the darkness. I hope you let Big Canoe News know that you subscribed. I'm assuming you subscribed for the book section. Uh, Paul Marin, And half the chat is on Wikipedia looking up criminal minds. Go vermin. Street Medic says, I read an essay by an author who said symbols in literature are mostly imagined by the reader. So I wrote a story where everything. Oh, I lost your chat because it was so long. Uh, I wrote a story where everything in it is symbolic just to see if I could do it. Julian May did the same thing 40 years ago. She did the same thing where she thought, well, if you people are going to go looking for symbols in my work, then I'm going to load it. I'm going to load my next series with them. Uh, Paul Marin says, Jay, just kidding, gang, anything for Steve. No, not anything for Steve. Obviously, as my paltry little patroning account, my Patreon account shows. Uh, the ZRK2 favorite fantasy novels that BookTube either doesn't like or ignores. Well, I don't know what BookTube doesn't like or ignores, uh, but I've mentioned a whole bunch of. I don't know. I can't answer your question. I don't know what they like or they ignore. I don't watch all of BookTube. Um, a lot of the stuff that they like, I don't like. I don't like Robin Hobb at all. For instance, I put me in the direct minority on BookTube. Uh, Jenny Park says, I used to watch all the crime shows when I went through my crime phase. Didn't watch any of them anymore as they all got too ridiculous. Strange considering I love fantasy. I was exactly the same way. Back when I had a TV, back when I watched TV, I watched all of them, all the crime shows. Thought they were just gripping, sometimes grippingly bad, sometimes grippingly bad. And I got rid of my TV a long, long time ago, and I'd much rather watch people that I know or can come to know on BookTube than than I would TV for the most part. Gola Muad'Dib, I couldn't help but notice a Star Wars book on your tablet. I didn't think you were into Star Wars. Well, this is Rogue Planet, Greg Bear, and I just read. Am I going to be able to reach it? No, I'm not going to be able to reach it. I just was reminded of Greg Bear in the latest issue of Analog, and went looking for what Greg Bear I have, and thought that I read this book when it first came out, and I haven't read it since. Uh, so I thought I would give it a try. Not, I'm not. I just opened it. I just found it on this device and opened it just this evening, and I'm liking it. I'll finish it. I'll finish it as soon as I finish the Steve stream. Uh, Ryan says, Steve, you got me hooked on Elizabeth George so hopelessly. Her plotting and characters are so incredible. Cannot stop reading her in order to write. Well, you got to stop reading her in order to write. Definitely. I'm curious now if you're loving her so much, are you going to read P.D. James? Curious about that. DT, where on your Jesuitical quadratic trash equation does Max Allen Collins and Mickey Spillane fall? How trashy is Collins? They're both pretty trashy. Collins is an order of magnitude better, but they're both pretty trashy in their own way. Tolstoy 111 says, you like Wyndham. You had said you disliked the Day of the Triffids. What Wyndham do you like? By the way, Chalky was made into a first-rate Thames TV miniseries in the 80s. I know so many fans. Once upon a time, I knew so many fans of that miniseries. Uh, Even Day of the Triffids, though I didn't completely hate it. It's so ham-handed. I didn't completely hate it. Uh, and his other masterpiece, I think, is much more effective than Day of the Triffids. I didn't completely hate that either. Uh, uh, let's see here. DT says, "What do you think of Airplane as a comedy as compared to Mel Brooks' stuff?" I love Airplane. Who doesn't love Airplane? Kevin JN, why does BookTuber Media Death Cult wear sidearm holsters? His channel is very cinematic. Probably he's a Trump supporter. Probably he's Trump cult. That'd be my guess. All the people, once upon a time, it had to do with, I'm a libertarian or I'm a Second Amendment person or whatever. Now it's just Trump cult. It's just I'd want to ask, do you think Donald Trump is completely human or is he more than human? The answer will be he's more than human. I think he's more than human because they worship him. That's all that it boils down to now. But I don't know for sure. Jenny Parks. So what did the T in Kirk's name mean before? It didn't mean anything. No one knew what it meant until Colonel Chang says it in trial in court. Usiva Bronstein, I love the last names Dostoevsky and Gogol used because they incorporated funny or descriptive things into them, like Sobetkevich from Dead Souls, meaning dog in Russian. I don't like it. A name is just a name. A name is no using it to do anything with the plot is just about as bad as a place name that has a portentous meaning, like redemption or salvation or last hope or something like that. Uh, the story should invest the place with meaning, not the other way around. Uh, Ryan, you should get a super chat for saying Jesuitical. I did go to a Jesuit high school, and they had us reading classics very early. Yeah, they're big fan of the classics. DT says, Steve, let's divide the chat. Spaceballs or Star Wars? And Jenny Parks goes with Spaceballs all the way. Ryan says, Raylan Givens is a solid name. Justified was a great show. Justified was a great show. Yeah, I'm not gonna care so much about something that comes from a book. I was thinking of a crime show. It's gonna bother me, but I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go looking. Uh, Gola Muad'Dib was next. Where did you go? The fantasy booktubers I've seen usually don't like Conan, don't they? Indeed. Well, that's depressing. Uh, I would ask at chatting with Nuts tonight. I would ask what Jimmy thinks of Conan, but they're going to have weightier matters to discuss. Mary Schneider says Inspector Morse has the best first name, Endeavor, or Columbo. His is Lieutenant. Yeah, that the big reveal of Endeavor was lots of fun. Ryan, Steve, I read every book one in your ongoing mystery series video. Every first book, Elizabeth George and Reginald Hill are the 2 out of the 10 I most enjoy, so thanks for giving me 40 books. Reginald Hill's books are great. They're fantastic. The DL and Pasco mysteries are great. Siva Bronstein, what do you think of the new speaker, Mike Johnson? Uh, yeah, he's a nightmare. He would be a nightmare anyway. Thinks that has the usual MAGA view of women straight from The Handmaid's Tale. Uh, is openly authoritarian. Obviously, does not want to be part of a representative democracy. He obviously does not want to be part of a representative democracy, and has the job because he has pledged behind the scenes to destroy representative democracy. He's not going to certify. If anyone other than Donald Trump wins the 2024 election, he's not going to certify the election. He's not going to do it. There are a million procedural things that he can do to stop it, or he can go extra procedural and just say, no, we're not going to do this. You'd have to haul every one of us off to jail. It's not going to happen. The chaos that he is in a position now, and he's in that position only because he is guaranteed the chaos. The amount of chaos that he can do is astronomical. And that's just legislative. He's a young earth creationist. So he's a moron. He's a burn the world zealot. So even if it didn't have anything to do with government, he would still be a really, really dangerous figure. He's a young earth creationist. There is no viable way to do that. That means you're signaling to the whole world that you're just a lunatic. Paul Marin says, I have a television, no cable or satellite, just for Blu-rays. Even most streaming is on the tablet. Yeah, I got rid of my TV, the VCR, the DVD player, the box, the other box, all of the wires that were that nightmare in the back of that whole thing. You have to find a place for it. Then you have to sit in front of it. No, 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 no. No. I have it on a little screen. That's exactly the position that it deserves in my life. And the screen, I can just reach over and use, 5 fingers to zip it closed and just keep writing. I don't have to worry about it at all. Um, Tolstoy 111 says, so what is Wyndham's other masterpiece, The Kraken Wakes? Anti Gaia says, The Wire is a great crime show, although there is no one to root for, except for perhaps Cuddy, the ex-gangster who starts a boxing club for at-risk youth in his neighborhood. I have a problem with shows that don't have anybody to root for, so I have a real problem with 21st century shows. Street Medic says, my favorite sci-fi story is The Cold Equations by Tom Godwin. So it's stoic. Marcus Aurelius could have written it if he was alive in the 20th century. Well, if you have further Marcus Aurelius comments, you want to save them for Jimmy Nuts' stream in just a few minutes. We're going to wrap this up at 8:15, so you can all prepare yourselves mentally and spiritually for chatting with Nuts at 8:30. The ZRK2, Spaceballs, Star Wars is 3 good movies, some decent video games, and a dump truck of trash. DT says Stephen King has straightforward names. Is that a point in his favor? A minuscule point in his favor, sure. Yeah, he doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. Mostly, he doesn't do that. So there's at least that. Sometimes he does, but not always. Uh, uh, let's see here. Paul Marin says James T-bone steak. TPS TSP. Steve, after watching your Friday Reads video, I wonder, do you like Robert Taft anywhere as near as much as you like his father? No, no, I don't. Uh, but still, I, it was. I don't know. I don't know how I came off in that Friday Reads. Obviously, if you watch both videos, the mail and the Friday Reads, from the mail video, you know what was on my mind in the Friday Reads video. I got emails within minutes of that video going up saying, "Boy, you seemed off in this video." No criticism, just you didn't you seemed distracted. Uh, and so I worried that I wasn't giving Nick Bunker's book the credit that it deserves. If you get it from your library, you're going to enjoy it. In the Shadow of Fear, you're going to enjoy it. And finally, Paul Marin says, "How about the great Theo Kojak?" How about Theo Kojak? In what way? What do you mean? How about? In terms of his first name, Kojak gets to have whatever first name he wants. I'm so glad. As far as I know, I'm so glad there's been no reboot, no big screen Hollywood vandalization of Kojak. I'm so glad we don't have Vin Diesel as Theo Kojak. I'm so happy about that. Ryan says, "Thanks, Steve. Hope your imaginary booktube friends have grounded you in happier reality. It's symbolic here. It's symbiotic here. Have to run best from Portugal." My imaginary booktube friends have done exactly that. This stream did exactly what I wanted it to, what I was hoping it would. I cannot thank you all enough. I'm hoping, I don't know why, but I'm hoping that I'll be happier tomorrow night. Both the stories that are bothering me are not going to be any better tomorrow. They're going to be worse. So am I hoping that I'm just going to be inured to them? I wouldn't like that at all. I should have made 5 videos today. I made 2, and that was a strain to stay on point. Was a strain. Uh, Street Medic says, "One of my advisors in college put together a paper challenging the creationism law in Arkansas in the 1980s." Well, this guy, I mean, he totally 100% relies on an old Earth that is ruled by evolution by means of natural selection. Everyone does, for medicine and everything else. Everything, medicine, the stable concrete in the roads you drive over, the car you use, all of it is completely dependent on that. And yet he doesn't believe it. It's like him saying that he believes in the Coddington fairies. Only because of the way this our society is set up, if someone says they believe something, suddenly they have to get this penumbra of respect. Oh, oh, okay, that's your personally held belief. I don't care if it's his personally held belief. He's nut. He's nuts. And it's the most benevolent nuts thing that he thinks. It does no, and like I mentioned, all none of those opinions matter. They're all fun to kick around, but they don't matter. The only important thing that matters about him is that he is not going to allow the 2024 election to happen. He's going to have to be ousted. So the fate that we didn't have in 2020 was for the election to go to the courts and have an enormously long nightmare where we went not just days but months without a president. That we avoided that nightmare because the results were absolutely clear and the process in the House of Representatives was merely ceremonial. That won't be true in 2024. Unless he's removed before then, that won't be true no matter what. Which means we will go through that nightmare, and that is the country's not strong. Excuse me, the country's not strong enough for that to happen. So he got the job by promising the exact right thing to the only person who matters, to the only person who was ever in control of any of it. Uh, uh, so when network pundits and opinion writers for the New York Times or the Washington Post continue to say that Donald Trump is merely a symptom and not the disease, I want to take each one of them aside, bring them up here for wine and calzones, and instead of buying them supper, just punch them in the face. I just want to punch them in the face. If Donald Trump died tonight, we would not be facing that in 2024. He's not going to die tonight. He's not going to die until 2047, which means we are going to face that. But he's the only thing causing that to happen. If he died, there would be no reason for it at all. So I don't have any patience with him being called only a symptom and not the disease. But anyway, Jenny Park says we enjoy being the chaotic little voices in your head. Well, you need to come up with voices of your own, little miss. You need to do a story. If you've got Celtic ancestors like I do, they're hanging their heads in shame. Get in the pool. It's a lot of fun. Joshua Crabo, it seems I'm late to the stream. What are the stories? What are the stories? Are we talking of? Well, we have to go. Uh, I can't reprise the whole chat because we have to go. We're going to. Uh, let's see. Amorphous is saying I joined the stream. Who is Steve talking about? But we need to go because chatting with Nuts over on Jimmy Nuts' channel is happening at 8:30. I don't want to step on another live stream, especially from two friends. Uh, Ryan says not watching the news sometimes is the best strategy. That is the best strategy, but then I don't know. Make millions of videos, watch them all. You're the best. I'm going to email you. Last Days of Jack Sparks, Jason Arnott. Gola Muad'Dib says back to writing. My last short story was also military sci-fi, another favorite subgenre of mine. Tom Jode says I can't believe that people still believe in politics. It is a broken system. Paul Marin says happy Friday, gang. And Jenny Park says almost 1:30 in the morning. I'm off to sleep. Okay, but sleep dreaming up characters. Okay, you still have time to do NaNoWriMo 2023. You should. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I advise you all to go over to Chatting with Nuts on Jimmy Nuts' channel and listen to what I'm sure will be an extremely mansplaining conversation with lots and lots of ostentatious slurping from gigantic mugs. I wonder if they get in a conversation with both of them slurping. They'll have to synchronize it, or there just won't be any conversation at all. Because apparently you can't go an hour without incredible hydration. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I was laughing by the end. Thank you all so much. I cannot thank you enough. Go over to Chatting with Nuts and watch their live stream. And I will see you soon. Thank you, Booktube. Thank you so much. Man, what wonderful people.